Hello, welcome to today's astrology study group. And since we're coming into eclipse season, I thought it would be good to start studying that rather than like the week before, because there's quite a bit about eclipses. And today we're going to kind of go over the very first part of it, which is the eclipses themselves. We'll look at the elements, where they're at, the talk about that a little bit, what that means, try to give you a few authors to look at and a few websites. And then we'll look at something called the prenatal eclipse. I don't think we've looked at that. If we have, it was just briefly. But basically, we want to, with that, you're going to look at what solar eclipse was before your birth, which was the new moon, that the previous new moon. So it could have been anywhere from, a few hours to, 28 days or so. So, well, I mean, in respect, but if you take the eclipse itself, that could been, it could be a little, I mean, it could be a day, a short amount of time, it could be months. So you're going to look at the previous one. So there's calculators on, then we'll go through looking at that. But for now, I wanted to look at something, and I think this was kind of interesting because if you remember, just a few weeks ago, we had that April new moon. We're coming, I mean, just a week ago or so. Um, and we're coming up to the April full moon. And then the next new moon, which will be on the 20th, will again be right on that transition day. And it will be right there before the sun, transitions into Taurus. Because look, it's on the 20th and it's at 29 degrees 50 minutes. And if you remember, just this last new moon that we just had was at 0 degrees Aries, whatever odd minutes it was. So that means we could have two in one sign, once in a blue moon. All right. So we got a big dose of Aries this year. And I just wanted to mention, that's things erupting, that's volcanic, that's tempers, that's we've had enough, that's drawing the line, that's also antagonism and provoking and aggression. So this is going to kind of be a mixed bag. And what's interesting is that I don't want to say it should be Taurus, because the next um, um, eclipse should, they should go in pairs. So, if you look, it should be, Scorpio, and then it goes back to Libra, which was Aries, and then opposite, then back the other way, it's off again, Taurus. So what we're looking at is in conjuncts. Why do I say it's off or something? Because they're pairs and they're like in the opposite sides, but being that the Aries is so close, I mean, look at it, it's 10 seconds or 10 minutes off of being, into the next sign. So that's what makes it off a little bit, or like this year's kind of cantankerous. We'll look when we look at some of the other eclipses, we'll see a little bit more even, but they don't always have to be because they go back and forth, but it's just interesting to note that and to note, which one's first, like this year we have solar, lunar, solar, lunar. Sometimes we can have up to, 5 or 6 of them in a year. Um, and they don't always go that way. Sometimes it can be solar, lunar, lunar, solar. You'll see it's different, but it all has its own pattern and rhythm. So April 20th, we're going to note where, that's the solar eclipse is the new moon, more or less. It's when let me get here. One of my favorite little books. I'll just give you the name. I like Rose Lineman, Lineman. I am a lineman for the county. That one, lineman, Rose. Okay. Anyway, solar eclipse. I think about it like it's a super new moon. It's where, let me read it. The best explanation. Solar eclipse occurs at the time of a lunation, moon conjunct the sun, when the sun, moon, and earth are so aligned that the moon blocks the sun partially or totally from Earth's view. Okay, not all new moons eclipse the sun, of course, because they go, you got to have the declination part. They're not always exact. All right, I'm not going to get into that total too much, the astronomy part of that today, but I just wanted to point that out. So thinking of solar eclipse as the new moon, all right? So that's kind of like I kind of think about the start point, and then the lunar eclipse is, would be like the full moon, and it's a different alignment of planets involved with the solar eclipse is necessary to produce a lunar eclipse, which occurs during a full moon opposite the sun, when Earth moves between the sun and moon, casting its shadow upon the moon and obscuring it from Earthlings' view. Okay, but again, they have to be the same degree in declination to block that. All right, so just keep that in the back of your head and know that. So, okay, we've got Aries, and then we go opposite, because again, it's almost Taurus, so it's going to go almost like to the opposite, which is a Scorpio. So we have an inconjunct here. We have a fire and then a water. And then when we go to the, the other time of year, when we go into the fall, will be in October, the 14th and the 28th. So we'll have again a solar and a lunar, and we'll be in Libra. And then we'll flip over to Taurus. Now, look what's interesting. I mean, we're going to get, I think, a lot more violence, a lot more eruption, a lot more shit hits the fan, because we have Aries and Scorpio, and then both, Scorpio, there's the, the Pluto and, the Aries association there, the sub-ruler, and Pluto just moved into a new sign. So it's kind of active, I think. And it being into the new sign, I'll read that too a little bit when we get to the transits today. But I like, there's a couple of astrology newsletters I get, and I like this one person's description of that. So if you don't make it over there to the transit report. And it's a really good, I'm going to do a little deep dive into some people's comments on Pluto in Aquarius. Okay, that being said, I think that's going to make this time, I mean, it's going to start the engines, and eclipses can be in effect for months. So we could be, by the time the other ones are kind of in effect, we could be sort of feeling it, and it's those waves and swells will kind of be already inundating us a lot. But then the universe comes in and gives us a Libra one, and even though it's it's not it's in conjunct to Taurus, those are both Venus ruled. Haha, and then of course we'll be in that Venus time of year, and there'll probably be other factors that may be more harmonious. So we'll see later, when we look more into the later eclipses. But today we'll start with that. So I just wanted to note that before we dive into more about it and where in our charts and all that is, but just to give you that big picture and to what to expect on on the world stage. Okay. Ooh. Mental note noted. Now let's go. Well, let me look at that, because I wanted to read a little bit of Judith Hill. I like her stuff too. Eclipses in You, her book, Eclipses in You, How to Align with Life's Hidden Tides. Judith Hill. We like Judith Hill. We study a lot of her. Okay, she says fire eclipses, which is the first one we're going to have in Aries. Look at, we got fire, water, air, and earth. We got one of each this year. So I'm going to read them all. Wow. Okay, fire eclipses produce dynamic events, wars, fires, discoveries, firsts, the first of anything, protests, or uprisings. They also influence mammalian wildlife, travel, radiation, leaders, creativity, weaponry, surgical advances, arts, sports, fuel, and energy. Okay. Let's go to the water one, because that'd be Scorpio next. So water eclipses influence the seas and the rivers. So this would be in May, and then we also have a lot of, flooding you can be thinking of too. Think of that. And earth slides. We talked about that coming up too in transits. All right. They also relate to the lower classes, women, children, emotions, psychological and spiritual matters, fluids, sex, and disease contagion. Great. They also relate to oil, water, chemistry, sewage, recycling, hospitals, loans, and sea life. Floods are associated with water eclipses. Okay, and this one is Scorpio. Shouldn't say anything about those in specific, which is probably good. Okay. Um, then we'll go over to air, which would be our first fall eclipse in Libra. Eclipses in air influence the air, trees, birds, and bees, human communications, transit, transportation, electricity, hurricanes, oh no, tornadoes, winds, polluted air, airborne disease, radiation, wind energy, computer technology, postal systems, communication networks, and space discovery. And the Earth one, the last one, is eclipses influencing the land, livestock, food production, grains and other crops, industry, mining, earth products, timber, employment, and finances. Earth eclipses can have some affinity with drought, especially in Virgo or Capricorn. Nope, kind of dodged this. Or Taurus in particular influences the economy. Oh no, which we know this is coming up. Just another further indication of time, I think, timing. So look for the fall, I think, to be probably pretty bad. I hope not, but probably on a lot of levels. All right, Taurus in particular influences the economy. Oh dear. She also says Capricorn eclipses are specific for their impact on large corporations, monopolies, authority, governments, and CEOs. Virgo eclipses impact public health institutions, the unions, army, and the proletariat. All right, just thought I'd read that. That all of that is from Eclipses in You by Judith Hill. All right, what else do we want to know about this? Let's go a little bit more specific now. Let's read about the solar. What is a solar eclipse in Aries going to really represent? So, according to Judith Hill, solar eclipses in Aries. Eclipses in the sign are dynamic, strong, and fast in effect. Energy rises and dissipates suddenly. Power surges and or power outages occur in all matters related to energy, speed, temper, passion, military action, and fire. And what she means by power outages and surges is not only in like the real grid or anything, but just in that energy by what happened with the eclipse. It's like all of a sudden the energy, it's going and then it stops and then it starts going again, then it comes back online. So we have that intermittent stop and then surge that is disruptive. What did I read in I have to go back and find it. The infrared during one of the eclipses, the moon's rays are blocked. The infrared that comes from the moon is blocked during one of the eclipses. So, or that would be in the solar eclipse. So, that's why it gets so goofy sometimes. We don't have those infrared rays for a short amount of time. Okay, so Aries, let's go on. Aries waves are hot and stimulating. And right, this is coming like right into, into late spring or mid-spring and in summer. Think of cayenne pepper. The sign inspires to action, discovery, aggression, impulse, and war. Oh crap. Leaders may rise to power or fall. This eclipse can herald great discoveries in exploration, science, and medicine. Leaders, athletes, and new talent idols may suddenly rise or fall. This is stimulating time for band practice, dancing, singing, expressive or modern art, inspirational speaking, teaching, and discovery. This is a feisty eclipse. Let's see, new beginnings of import can precede this event. Effects are sudden and usually within 1 to 4 weeks, usually 90 days or even 1 year still hold. All right, cautions. She cautions. Judith Hill cautions. Check for fire hazards. This eclipse is prone to divorces and job quitting. Remove loose firearms, check tempers. Yeah, I gotta check my temper. It's running a little hot. Animals and kids require more exercise. People tend to act up. Look out for speeders. Avoid speeding yourself. This is a drinker's eclipse. Try to avoid provoking arguments. Don't drink and drive. Be proactive in preventing fires. This dry, hot eclipse sometimes coincides with droughts and sparse vegetation. Ooh. Okay, she gets a little bit more. Medical effects of an Aries eclipse. This eclipse is potentially dangerous for persons prone to stroke or those with high blood pressure, migraine, glaucoma, eye pressure, temper problems, brain issues, mania, brain-related mental illness, bipolar disorders, and ADHD. This is interesting because that's also some things we're going to talk about in the transits. The adrenal glands, fight or flight, are affected. Testosterone and other hormone levels may increase or decrease suddenly depending on the north or south node polarity of this eclipse. And this one is a north node eclipse. Avoid medical procedures to the head and eyes. Our energy levels experience extremes, low or high. This eclipse provokes heat and fevers. Aries eclipses are known to stimulate hemorrhaging and accidents, so it's not a time for extreme sports or electional surgery. Hemophiliacs or those on blood thinners need to observe careful extra cautions. This is a drying and hot eclipse that is not particularly good for the uterus. Pregnant women should avoid heat and excessive activity close to this eclipse. Moods and brain chemistry are sensitized, so those who must take psychiatric medication should be mindful of their dosages. Eyes may be more sensitive to light. Be sure to drink a sufficient amount of water. Aries eclipses reflect primarily upon its opposite sign, Libra, and secondarily upon its two squaring signs of Cancer and Capricorn. So we got to think about the whole cardinal elements here. This means that the areas of life governed by these three signs must also see some powerful effects. All right, we'll get into the Scorpio one and the other ones as they get closer, because it's kind of hard to hold all that in your head, So I think this would be good to, you can go look these up in your chart just to know where they're at, just to know, because that's going to be the sign, that's going to be affected. And then look to see also if you have anything at those degrees and anything's, of course, squaring or making aspects over to those degrees. Yeah, just a heads up though. I just wanted to give you a little heads up on the Scorpio eclipse. So because it goes into the the water side. So eclipses in this sign are extremely potent, emotional, and enduring in effects. They're the most powerful eclipses of all. Oh, great, right? Emotions are concentrated and condensed and intensified. This is what I was thinking about it being, just like a blow up, a build up, explosive and lots of levels, because we have that, and then Pluto have just changed signs. Boundaries between the living and the dead are relaxed. Oh no. Mass emotional energy is available for human use or misuse. Latent forces come rising to the top. Think of a sleeping volcano slowly awakening. The emotion shaken loose at these eclipses must be courageously used, directed, and transformed for the world good. Otherwise, the effects may be unpleasant. Scorpio is the greatest healer of the zodiac, so we may find inherent at this time the greatest potential for medical discovery and other miracles of transformation. Large financial changes are often noted in banking and insurance industries, as well as stock markets, currencies, and commodities. This eclipse produces intense effects and mass transformations. Scorpio is associated with surgery, recycling, sewage, vermin, foul water, brewing bees, arachnids, reptiles. Oh no, all this bug crap is being forced down our throats. Oh no, they're trying to make a lot of food with bugs in it. There's bug burgers and bug chips and all this stuff trying to get us to eat this chitin. That's that outer coating in insects that is no good. Not only can't we can't digest it, but it's toxic. So stay with me. All right. Anyway, we'll get more into that when we get closer, but I just thought I'd prep you because we're seeing a lot of this coming on. We're seeing the financial shift, we're seeing money, we're seeing people, being forced into not so good areas. So we're looking at this, these eclipses and it just being, it's a good heads up to know what we got coming up at us here. So we've got the first one in the like third week of April, and then 2 weeks later, you expect the Scorpio one. But then now it's not going to be, of course, things happening on that day, but we know the ripples will be coming around then all summer. Oh, okay. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's really, I think, it's a good thing to start getting our heads around. So anyway, just put this on your calendar. You can review this, be forewarned, and heads up everybody, about all this. Okay, let's shift into something a little bit more light. Let's look at our prenatal eclipses. I think this is pretty fascinating. And let's see if I get that out of here. This is, move that. This is, oh yeah, astro.com. Okay, you can probably see it. I can't, my things are covering it. Anyway, this is an article here, the IVC conference, constellation news, prenatal eclipses and lunations in natal astrology by Hakan Kirkoglu. All right. I think I did pretty good on that, hopefully. So anyway, I'm not going to read it all, but I want to highlight a few things here, just talking about the cycles of this. Is this the one I wanted you to see? Actually, I don't. I'm going to come back to this one. I want to see a different one. Is it this one? Yeah, hold on. We'll come back to you. Okay, this one. Okay, International Society for Astrological Research, ISAR. And this one is about, what was here? Gay Alkin, prenatal solar eclipse charts understanding Louise Hay's mission. But she talks about a few things before. I'm not going to dive into that, but this is pretty cool. Let's see. The prenatal eclipse. Yeah, okay. Prenatal eclipse is perceived by some astrologers to be a bridge between the last incarnation and the present one. Either way, this method brings qualified information about a person's struggles and purpose for his or her current life according to the knowledge of the soul. All right, the prenatal solar eclipse, and then this person's abbreviating PNE, is the nearest solar eclipse that occurred prior to the birth of the person. So we're looking for the previous new moon, because we're not all born, right on the new moon. The chart for, okay, now this is interesting. I'm going to have to delve into this. The chart for that event can be used on its own, like a natal chart, and also with the natal chart. And I'll show you what I think this means. The rules to analyze the PNE chart are almost the same with reading a natal chart, with only a difference in understanding. A PNE chart is the chart of the soul, which keeps one's pure nature, intentions, tendencies, abilities, and goals to achieve. When the natal chart is compared with the PNE chart, the natal chart accepted as a materialization base. This materialization is sometimes not able to achieve what soul has tendency. So the life process begins at this dilemma. Here are the most important parts to mention in the PNE chart reading. Hang tight, don't go away on that one. All right. So he's this gay. I don't know if this person says, okay, there's the placement of the solar eclipse. It's like, where is it taking place? What house and what sign is it in your chart? This placement shows the struggles or gifts that person brings with his or her incarnation. Whether we believe it or not, in reincarnation or not, there is an accurate information hidden in this eclipse chart for each of us about our coming to life, showing the main things we are dealing with and why. What are the lessons that our path wants to teach us? The ruler of the eclipse and its aspects are also important. Definition of the soul's characteristics. Um, all right, so I just wanted to show you that. That's kind of interesting. And let's see, I'm going to get a new share. Hold on. Whoops. Do. We already had that one. I got it. Okay, this is the one that I wanted. Yeah. I have lots of articles to show you. This is the one. Okay, from astrolearn.com. This is an introduction to prenatal eclipses, written by Philip Grave. What is a prenatal eclipse? It is the last eclipse of the sun to have occurred before birth. It's considered by karmic astrologers such as the late Rose Lineman to be the primary significator of the karmic path of the individual, indicating all past life karma, debts and assets alike, that is relevant to the current lifetime. The kinds of relationships and perplexing situations in the present incarnation required for karmic progress. The means of resolving a karmic problems, a path to spiritual understanding, and certain facets of evolutionary progress. Eclipses occur in groups of between 4 and 6 over a year. We talked about these. It's called the Saros series. I'll just read a little bit of this. Well, actually, we'll go over this the next time. They go back and forth, and they go back a full cycle of 19, which reoccurs once every approximately 18 years. Eclipses always occur at the lunar nodes, since they are where the moon's orbit of the Earth intersects the ecliptic or plane through which the Earth orbits the sun, thereby providing a necessary condition of geometric alignment for an eclipse to occur. All right, we'll get back to that technical stuff. All right, finding the prenatal eclipse. Use the accompanying table here, which I'll show you in a minute, for births between 1940 and 1999. The last solar eclipse in table, well, I'll show you. Okay. This is I'm not going to go deep into this part, but he goes into a little bit more of the key planet and you can look at it's even get more into its decan and dwad. It's like if it's in the last third of the sign, and then is it what part of that is it? So you can get it even more whittled down, but we're going to kind of be broad today. So its sign element shows characteristics of personality that have been insufficiently developed or misused in previous incarnations, and therefore require personal focus in the current life, and also indicates a suitable matter for the resolution of karmic problems. But this will require adjustments if it conflicts with the overall elemental balance of the nativity. We have the elements, like it's the only one in water that you might have. Like, ooh, okay. Its house placement describes activities and relations that teach karmic lessons, produce karmic progress, and can be used to work out karmic situation and resolve karmic debts. Its aspects link the general potentialities of the prenatal eclipse, as indicated by its sign and house placement, to problems shown by the inharmonious aspects and resolutions shown by the harmonious ones, taking into consideration the general nature and placement of each aspect and planet. Harmonious aspects act as channels to spiritual growth, while inharmonious ones tend to inhibit it, requiring effort for this blockage to be overcome. I thought this was interesting too. In karmic astrology, quincunxes, the 150-degree angle, are considered to qualify as major aspects. I tend to think so too, especially after hearing some more potent stuff that Rick Levine did this last month on Astrology Hub about quincunxes. Okay. The indicators of a disposition to repeat karmic errors, the resolution of which inclination requires individual effort. Okay, so we got a little bit more here. Now let me see what else I got here for you. Did that one. Should do that one. Let's see. Wanted to do the click here, make sure I got that right for you. No, it's not gonna do it. Okay. So here, let's see, new share. We'll go over to, all right, we'll go over here to astroseek.com. I think we looked at them last time. They got a lot of cool stuff. So we have I looked up mine. Actually, I want to give you another one. Let's see. I think I have another one. This is the one I want. I'm sorry. Here we go. New share. There it is. All right. Astro. So we got, you can click on the solar, you see the button here, solar and lunar eclipses, and then you can put your date in. I put the dates like in 63, 64. I was born in 1964. So what I do is look, if I was born in April, I would go, let's see, here's June 1964. And then I was born in April, so the previous one would have been January, see? And it was a partial solar eclipse, and it would be at 23 Capricorn 36. So that would be for me. So you would just go back again. My birthday's in April, so June was the next one, but I would have to go to the one before that, and the one before that was in January. Mm-hmm. And that was this. You could see it says solar. So that's pretty easy. So then I just need to note 23 Capricorn in my chart, and then what that's all about. Now, this is what I was thinking here. When you go off to the side and you go eclipse chart, and it will come up with, hopefully, all right. I think you can see this. You should be able to see this chart. Let me just do a new share just in case. Do here. Okay, so this is the chart of that eclipse at that time, because it was at a certain time, and they used this, and they just calculated it to wherever I have my longitude latitude set. So for me, if that was that eclipse point, this is the chart of that eclipse. So I would also look at this in relation to my birth chart, and this happens to be a 28 Leo rising. I happen to be a 3-degree Leo rising, so that's kind of seeing that I need to have some kind of a that in my life. But then I can also look at these planets, and they're going to be similar because it's they haven't moved that much in a few months. Like I have this Uranus. You can look here in the first house, Uranus, Pluto. Mine are just a little bit. I think my Pluto, by the time I was born, it was 12 degrees. It was moving backward. It was retrograde there. Yeah, and then also my Uranus, I think it was 6. So it moved a little bit, but those are still there. That conjunction was there in effect for quite a while. The Neptune would be in about the same place. Just those the sun, moon, and let's see, Mercury would be Venus. Venus. Venus is going to change. Mars is going to change. So anyway, if I look at this chart and I compare some of these things to my birth chart, I'm going to have some more information. So I'd have to go back to that one app, that one article, and compare a little bit more with some of that. But I just wanted to show you how to actually just look up your time. So what you need to do, whoops, get over there, get out of there, see, is just to go look up your date. And we can look again at the top of this. Let me go back. This out of here. Okay, is this the one I want for you? Oh, there it is. New share. All right. So there again, solar and lunar eclipses. Type in, or you can just forward and backward through your date. You can just move the date or type it in. Oh, there we go. I just went to the next year. And you can see here it started at January this year, so I can go ahead or back. Anyway, you get it. So this is really something to start to ponder. Another fated point, another interesting part of your chart. Let me just read you a couple more things here. This is from Rose Weinman's books called Eclipses Astrological Guideposts. And she says, okay, this is talking about the prenatal eclipses. So this is going about the sign position of the prenatal eclipse although it is a point common to hundreds of thousands of horoscopes, has personal significance as described by the emphasis of that particular sign in the natal chart. The triplicity to which the sign of the prenatal eclipse belongs has special meaning in terms of how to best approach karmic situations and which factors of the personality are karmically emphasized. All right, so according to her, we're going to go the fire ones. We'll do fire, earth, air, water. So for mine, we found that it was Capricorn. So I would read the earth one, but I'm going to read them all for us all. A prenatal eclipse is in a fire sign indicates that the best approach to karmic situations and relationships is one based on self-initiated action. Well, there you go, fire, right? And creative endeavor. Karmic problems stem from failure to act in situations calling for positive measures. It's like probably waiting for somebody else to do it. So nope. Some of these people tend to take the easy way out or drift along with circumstances. However, in order to progress karmically, they cannot sit and wait for someone else or a chance event to work out their problems. Instead, they must take the first steps in the right direction on their own volition to resolve karmic situations and to develop and use natural creative abilities, their natural creative abilities. For a prenatal eclipse in a fire sign stresses self-action and creativity and inspiration. Okay, earth. An earth sign, when occupied by a prenatal eclipse, points to need for persistent action and physical effort directed toward karmic situations. Karmic problems can arise as a result of idleness, misuse of material resources, greed, or lazy habits. Many of these people encounter circumstances requiring them to perform strenuous work or bear long-term heavy responsibilities. I can attest to that. If the natal chart shows tendencies toward frivolous living, these tendencies must be overcome and natural abilities utilized in constructive, worthwhile endeavors as part of the price for karmic progress. 2, with this placement, the prenatal eclipse emphasizes the physical side of the personality. Such people are called upon to care properly for their bodies. I would say maybe in others do, and to practice good nutrition, health care, and hygiene. Well, there you go. If prenatal eclipses occur in an air sign, intelligent action based upon comprehensive planning is indicated as the best way to deal with karmic conditions. Karmic debts multiply if one habitually forms or breaks relationships on the basis of emotional impulse, or makes important moves without giving adequate forethought to possible consequences. This placement emphasizes the intellect. It signals the need to develop the thinking process and to acquire fluent communication skills, to exercise sound judgment in decision making, to fully utilize mental abilities. And a prenatal eclipse placed in a water sign emphasizes spiritual development. It suggests a need for unselfish action and for sincere soul searching. These people must learn the lessons of spiritual love and selfless concern for others, lessons which may not come easily or naturally if the natal chart shows strong self-oriented tendencies and or preoccupations with worldly matters. Subsequent eclipses which aspect the prenatal eclipse reveal situations and conditions to be rectified and relationship problems to be worked out in order that one may gain karmic progress. For example, if a transiting eclipse falls in the natal 11th house and squares a prenatal eclipse in the 2nd house, events that follow may awaken humanitarian principles, enabling that person to develop a better perspective about material possession. All right, let's see. Oh, this is another thing about the quincunx with this. Quincunxes formed between one person's prenatal eclipse and points in another person's natal horoscope indicate karmic ties and provide clues to the nature of the relationship. That quincunx raises its little head again, doesn't it? All right. One more thing. Let's see. Duration. Okay. A more modern school of thought places eclipse effective at about 6 months or until the next eclipse occurs. Studies seem to indicate that this is usually the case. However, eclipse effects can continue overlapping with those of the next solar eclipse if a subsequent eclipse aspects the previous solar eclipse. So they're a little while. We get some ripples, right? Traditional theory equates 1 hour of lunar eclipse duration to 1 month of post-eclipse influence. Eclipse effects would then be limited to 1 month and 20 days or less to the longest duration period for a lunar eclipse is 1 hour and 40 minutes. Since lunar and solar eclipses function as part of a sequence, it seems more logical that the lunar effects last as long as the effects of the solar eclipse. It accompanies regardless of how long the lunar eclipse lasts. All right, whatever. So we got a little work. You want to look up and see where your where your pre-solar eclipse is. You want to know what element it is. Maybe go back over this and dig in on that. And then where it is in your chart. And then note what the next one is coming up and see if it makes, you'll have a relationship by element, by sign, but see if it makes anything by degree. And if it does, if it's, that year that you have something making something to that by degree will be an important year. Then there's one other little thing, we'll talk about it more, but there's something called the metatonic return, where you could see mine is at 23 Capricorn. So when they were several years ago, when the eclipses were, at that Capricorn Cancer axis, if there was one at 23 Capricorn, that would have been my metatonic eclipse return. And you get a few of them, I think couple, or it depends on when they started, where in the cycle, but you could have a couple in your life. And it's just maybe a more important year. Somebody or something may really change. That's another interesting part. All right, so that's it for now on eclipses. There's a lot to think about here and more to follow. All right, see you all next time. Bye for now.